Today, I'm sitting down with someone who understands CRPS on a level most people will never grasp. Her name is Margaret, and she was 23, recovering from what should have been a routine foot surgery, when her entire life took a sharp turn she never saw coming. Within weeks, she was hit with complex regional pain syndrome, one of the most painful and misunderstood conditions out there. Her story isn't about pity, it's about a life that changed overnight, the fight to reclaim movement, the mental toll, the isolation, and the stubborn grit it takes to rebuild yourself when everything familiar is ripped away. She lost the identity of an athlete, the comfort of routine, and the life she imagined. What she gained is a voice, a purpose, and the drive to make sure nobody feels alone in this fight. Margaret uses her story to raise awareness for CRPS and to stand in the corner of anyone dealing with chronic pain. Today, we're going to walk through the moment everything changed, the brutal recovery, the fallout, the faith that held her up, and the reason she refuses to stay silent. Welcome back to Painfully Real. So take me back to January 6, 2015. What was life like before that surgery, and how quickly did things start to feel off for you?
Well, I was a athlete, I was a gymnast. Did gymnastics for about 17, 18 years, so that was pretty much all I knew. I did other sports, outside of gymnastics, like volleyball, cheerleading, dance, and all that. But gymnastics is what I knew, and so, um, when I was injured, from a horse incident, I was like, I couldn't do it anymore, so that was pretty difficult, but when I got injured with the horse, it was a 900-pound horse stepped on my foot. They told me that it was just bruised bone and it would go away, and then probably 3, 4 weeks later, it still hadn't gone away. So I went to the doctors and they're like, "We can't find anything, but you do have a bunion. Would you like to get it taken off?" And I was like, "Sure." I got it done with my other foot, why not? And so, a couple weeks later, I got it done, and then within days, like 2, 3 days later, I knew something was wrong because I instantly got that fire feeling. My mother tried to put ice on my foot, and that was wrapped, and it
Mhm.
felt like sandpaper was on my foot. And then it happened the next night. Same thing, it felt like sandpaper from the ice was on my foot, and I thought maybe the wrap was too tight. And then it happened again, and I was like, "This isn't right." It didn't happen with my other foot, so I don't know what's going on. So I actually did something I've never really done. I Googled what I was feeling, and everything came back to CRPS or RSD. And so we went to our local hospital here in Connecticut, and they honestly didn't know what I was talking about because they're not really trained on it, and if they are, it's probably for a couple weeks. And then, they took off the wrap that I got from the surgery, put a new one on, and then just sent me on my way. And we went back to my doctor a couple weeks later. I did the surgery, and we told him everything that was going on. And he too didn't really know what was going on. And so I explained I was getting this burning feeling, this tingling feeling, and he actually brought someone in that kinda knew what I was talking about, but kinda didn't, and he was the one that suggested that I see a neurologist, and luckily for me, I already have a neurologist because when I was really young, I was diagnosed with seizures. So I had one and we saw him and he knew. what I was talking about. And that day, February 17th, which actually was my grandfather's death anniversary, he diagnosed me with CRPS. He told my mother and I that we would need a team of doctors. And it didn't hit me because I kind of knew what it was in a way. But it hit my mom. It was like, okay, this is more than what we expected. And so that day actually I started my blog and just kind of went from there because I didn't want to focus on the diagnosis. I wanted to kind of share. It was mainly for my family to begin with. I wanted to share with them like, hey, this is what's going on. And it just became more than what I thought for the blog. And that's kind of how it became with my story.
So outside of the sandpaper filling with the ice, what symptoms hit you the hardest in those early weeks?
So obviously from the surgery, I couldn't walk. But once they unwrapped the bandage, I noticed that my foot, anytime I would put my foot down, like if it wasn't elevated, I would put my foot down, say from a shower or whatever. It would change to like I call it like a frostbite color. It would turn like bluish, dark blue. It would get cold. And then I, so my foot would change just color. And then I also got hair on my foot. I never had that happen. And then my toenails on my right foot would start to grow faster than usual, and then it my foot was so sensitive to anything and everything. It was like the nerves were just so overwhelmed with just what was happening, and no one could touch it, and I tried physical therapy, and that's pretty much what helped, but they had to, like, do it very slowly because they just couldn't go full speed of, "We're gonna make you walk again. We're just gonna have to take it day by day."
Yeah, because I wanna say you had, what, around 70 physical therapy
Yep.
sessions?
Yeah.
What kept you pushing through all of that?
I think it was more the athletic aspect and that drive I had because I grew up with athletic parents, and it wasn't pushed on my brother or I to be athletic, but just having that drive and that passion to be like, "This is what I grew up with," and with gymnastics, it was a constant. If you wanna complete a skill or get better at a skill, you had to work on it, and that's what I had to do was if I wanted to get better, I had to work on getting better, and I didn't want my life to just be done just because of this. I even though it was a new normal, yes, I had to find a new way to keep living, I guess. I think that was the hardest part was not really why me, it was more how do I continue with the life I have, but make it new and try to find a new way of living.
I understand that completely. You've gotta find that hope and that purpose and everything else that kind of gives you that drive and that motivation to kind of keep moving when, you're dealing with something like this. So what did we relearning to walk look like on a daily basis?
It was not easy. It was little steps every day or not every day. Some days I would be motivated and then other days I'd just be so tired that I just couldn't do it. And that was the downside of CRPS is that you think you're okay one day and then the next day you're like, I just can't do it. But learning to walk, it took a good 6, 7 months just to try walking by myself, and that would just be baby steps. I remember for my brother's graduation from college, I was in a wheelchair because I was still on crutches, and the surgery was in January. He graduated in May, and so it was hard because I would have loved to have been able to walk, and not been on crutches or in a wheelchair, it was that cautious for me of being I don't want my foot to be, like, tapped on or to be bumped into, and then everything goes downhill. So that it took a while, and again, physical therapy helped because they knew me prior to being diagnosed. They knew me since high school, and so they knew that I can do this, and they knew that I had the motivation, and so they helped, and I definitely owe them a gratitude to helping me get back to
Yeah.
a life that may not have been what I wanted, but they definitely helped me.
That's good. It's always nice to actually have doctors and therapists and everything else
Mhm.
that are always there to really help
Yeah.
you and get you through it. Unfortunately, for a lot of CRPS warriors, they don't have it that way, and they don't have those good teams, and that can really get them going and get them through the worst part of all of this. So when you talk about the kind of the mental and emotional type of stuff that comes with that diagnosis and everything else, I know in your blog you talked openly about your OCD flare that
Mhm.
triggered CRPS. How did that shift your day to day life? Also,
So, we got cats. We have 2 cats, and I was okay with them prior, and then once I got CRPS, I could not stand having those cats in my room. It was the fur that just I don't know, like, my body would just, like just the thought of it would just, like it just make me tense or just anxious and anxiety and be like, "There's fur in my room, there's fur in my bed." I couldn't do it. And still now, I'm like I still have 2 cats, but they're not allowed upstairs in my room because just thought of it, I'm like, "Nope, can't do it." And that was probably the major OCD I have gotten from this. Like, prior to CRPS, yeah, I had some OCD, but it wasn't like it didn't control me. Like this, I felt like controlled me for so long. And but other than that, I think I've been fairly good with my OCD.
that's good.
So, yeah.
That's good. What was the hardest part mentally during the worst phase?
I'm losing people. And then having some people, like family members, being like, she looks fine. I don't see what you guys are talking about. So, like, the losing the people or losing friends, we were really close. Like, I was really close to people in church. I had a church group, church friends, and then this happens, and they would be here, and then as time goes on, it's like, you can only be here for so much because it's, again, canceling or being like, "I'm not feeling great, I'll try to be there," and then not being there. And then for family I have a huge family. I'm one of 17 cousins, and so it was a lot of "How's she doing? Is she okay?" And then it dwindled into, "She looks fine. She's walking, so it doesn't hurt anymore. I guess it's okay now." And then it's, I don't get what the big deal is, but they don't see that any little thing can cause a downside. Like, if I remember it was the Super Bowl one year and an outlet, like a charger outlet fell on my foot. That was it. I was sick for a couple days because just that little thing falling on my foot could just do me in. And then they don't see what's behind closed doors and you're putting up a front for them. And then I remember my brother coming home from Christmas. And he didn't understand it until he understood it. It was something happened that I got so sick, and he didn't realize this is what happens with the CRPS. I could be down for days, and he was like, "I get it now." Because you can read up on it, but until it's someone in your family or it's you don't really get it. You have to actually see it. Same thing with my dad, like, he's in the medical field, but he didn't really understood it until he asked someone, one of his coworkers, and then he kinda understood it, but until he saw me, he was like, "I get it now."
Yeah, I
It was
think
just a
that's
lot of
yeah.
it was just a lot of, like, they don't see the invisibility of it.
Yeah, I've found that that's one of the most difficult parts is the invisible illness aspect
Yeah,
of CRPS and other conditions too. Just the fact that people don't see you, so in their eyes, well, you look fine, so you must be fine. But like
exactly.
you said, they don't see the struggle behind closed doors. They don't see the struggle to get out of bed and the, you know, curling up in a ball in a closet or on the floor or something
Mhm.
because you're in so much pain and agony that you don't know how you're gonna function or anything else like that. And so getting people to actually understand that, I think, is a very, very difficult part because most people don't know about it to begin with, and then even doing
Yeah,
research, they still don't fully understand or grasp, kind of what you're going through because they read one thing, but they don't understand the actual severity and what it's doing inside your body and to your extremities and everything else. And so that takes, a huge mental toll on itself with
yeah.
that. So I know that losing gymnastics hit you pretty deep.
Mhm.
What does that identity shift feel like now?
It Losing gymnastics really did hurt. Like, it hurt to even watch gymnastics on TV because I would get, like, that little twitch of, "I gotta do it, I wanna do it," knowing that I couldn't do it. And then I also taught and coached gymnastics, and so I was able, even though I was no longer doing it for myself, I was still involved in that world. And so when they told me I'd probably no longer be able to do it or even be able to do it, that mindset of I have to let go. Like, my heart may not want to, but my body is saying that you have to. The doctors are saying you have to. So it was a struggle for a while. And I I don't say I fell into a depression. It was more of that. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't, like, the Olympics was hard, seeing anything on TV, photos of friends doing it, because I'm like, "I wanna be able to do it. I wanna do it." Just a simple cartwheel or simple anything I couldn't do. So that it was just struggle to just realize that I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a devastating, change to your life, when you lose something that you're so passionate about that, gives you so much joy, and now all of a sudden it's gone and you're having to relearn to walk and deal with this pain and, go through all of this struggle, it just kinda adds to it and compounds and just, kinda makes things a little bit more difficult, because you lose a part of yourself that you had
Yes,
for at that point, for over 17 years that is now gone, and now who are you at that point? I'm sure you were kinda
exactly.
feeling a little bit of that, like, "Who am I now without this, without
Like,
this
it's,
piece?"
will I ever be good enough or will I ever be good at anything again? Because I was always in sports. Again, I was a gymnast from, like, age 3, and I did cheerleading, I did volleyball in high school, so I did other things outside of that, but I always went back. So, if I wanna do a sport or anything now, I have to worry about, will it affect my foot?
Mhm.
Will it affect my CRPS in any way? And that's the hardship. It's, if I wanna be active or do anything, like running, jumping, I'm like, I have to be more cautious. I just can't spontaneously do it. So, that's just more bit difficult because, like, I wanna do this, but I may not be able to.
I've got those same moments myself. It's like I wanna, get back out there and, do skiing and snowboarding again or, play intramural softball, but it's like, "What's it gonna cost me?" Kind of
Exactly.
thing, If I do that, how long am I gonna be down? Is it going to bring my symptoms back full force? What exactly is it going to do? And so you always have that fear in the back of your mind that's kind of holding you back. Like, you know what? I want to try this, but I'm scared of the consequences. I'm
Yeah, I
scared
remember
of
I wanted to try figure skating, not that long ago, actually. In the back of my head, I was like, how will this go? Will it affect me, and will it make it worse? Like, I've been pretty good so far. I don't wanna go back to how it was in the beginning, and if I do, will I regret it? So, I didn't do it, and kinda glad I didn't, but it's just one of those, like, you have to think about it. Well, other
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go."
Yeah,
But for us, we can't, we have to think about it.
exactly. We can't just jump to something and, accept what it may be. It's too much, especially, for me. I know that when I was at my worst, I didn't wanna get out of my bed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't be there for my kids or be the provider that I needed to be for my family, and I don't really wanna risk that anymore. As much joy as those activities gave me, I do I wanna risk the life that I've built now for a few moments of joy,
Yeah, like, what's
kinda
the
thing.
reward of you doing something when you know that you already have that reward of you accomplished so much?
I've overcome everything to this point. I'm able to function on a daily basis, with the limited pain that I have now, but I I don't wanna get back to my worst again and
Yeah.
lose everything. Do you ever feel, the old competitive drive coming through, or does your CRPS kinda silence all?
Every now and then, like, so I work at a daycare and it's all girls, and, we get pretty competitive with different things, and so it's still there. Board games, I'm pretty competitive. I've always been competitive even outside of sports, but yeah, football games, my dad and I we're big football. We love our football, so we get competitive during that, so
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's always there.
that's good. That's good. At least you didn't lose that drive. So you credit your family heavily. How did they show up in ways others hadn't?
My mom, I wouldn't have gone through this without her, like, she was there from day one. Um, she had her own job, and she had to take some time off to help me. I wasn't driving because it was my foot, so I couldn't drive. She drove me to every physical therapy appointment. She just took care of me and everything. She made sure I was okay. I was still under her insurance, so all the doctor's appointments were on base because she's a she's a veteran. Everything was through her. She was, because she was a chief, she was able to get me to see the right doctors, the right people, and so that definitely helped. She's just, I call her like super mom. She was able to just be there when I just need someone to be there. She didn't have to talk to me. She just knew when I just needed someone. And, like, I had another family member out here, and she knew what was going on, but for some reason, she just chose not to be involved. So everything relied on mom, and she says it took, like, 10 years on her, so she felt like she'd aged because of having to deal with everything. And my brother was in college, so there was that, and my dad, they're divorced, so he was in Tennessee, and so it was just her. So I credit my mom a lot through all this.
That's good.
Still
It
do.
it was good. It's a good thing you had a good supporting staff with your
Oh, yeah.
mom and everything else to really help you get through all of that. Family always comes up big in those moments. So your faith plays a major role in your perspective. How did it change the way you handled all of this?
So I never did the whole "why me?" Like, "God, why me?" It was more, "How can you use me?" I don't know, it was just I don't know, it was just more like, if you chose me to have this, use it, use me for it. I mean, I like it. May be hard, it may be difficult, but any way you can use me, do it, and I'll do it.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's just how I feel like he's used me. It's just trying to raise awareness through all this. Yeah, it has been hard, and yeah, I have had maybe 1 or 2 moments of "why me?" But it's never been the whole, "Why'd you do this? I don't believe that you could have done this to me." So, that's
It's
it.
good that you allowed your faith to kinda shine through and do all of that. And I know for me,
Yeah.
I had several there were several moments early on when I was at my worst that it was, constantly, "Why me? What did I do to
Mhm.
deserve this?" And
Yeah.
just angry, that I was having to go through this, and it was that moment of clarity when I realized, "You know what? Why not me?" You know,
Yeah.
if you're gonna put somebody clearly chose us for a reason. So that's where it's time to step up and do something and try to do that advocacy and spread the awareness and everything else, which I know you've done through news articles and your blog and everything else and what kind of what I'm trying to build right here with this podcast. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember, I was in the car with my mom, and we were coming from another appointment, and I was, like, still brand new to this whole CRPS thing, and I remember telling her, "I wanna raise awareness for this," and I was, within weeks or months of being diagnosed, like, I was not even, like, clear-headed or anything. She was like, let's get this let's wait a minute because you're still new." And, but I remember I was like, I didn't have that whole because I think I was just so young. I was 23, and I think if I was older, I would and, like, working and everything, be like, "Okay, I was working and I had a life." Then I probably would've been, like, more, "Why me?" But I I was just young, and I guess I was but then again, I was young, and I didn't have my 20s. So, again, I could've been like, "Why me?" I think pretty on, I wanted to do something.
That's good that immediately jumped on that. It took, we've kind of touched on it earlier, but it took almost 3 years for me to finally get my diagnosis. Luckily, you didn't have to endure
No.
that. You got yours kind of quick, but I don't.
Mhm.
Was already 3 years into, but for me, before I really started to really think of what could I do, and my first thought was, you know what, I'm going to write a book. I
Mhm.
didn't know if I would ever publish it or do anything, but I kinda use it as an outlet and to a sense, kind of a therapy, just kind of putting my story and my feelings and everything on page that I hadn't really shared with anybody to that point. That's kinda where things started on my end, but definitely wasn't something that was, almost immediate like yours, so that's real big on you wanting to really jump onto that awareness and advocating for everyone when dealing with this, you know?
Yeah.
So what does a good day look like for you now?
It's getting up for work and not having pain or having that tingle feeling in my foot, but it's not bad, like, I've kinda gotten used to it. It's going into work, dealing with kids, and praying to God I have a good day, and if I don't, like, bump into anything that will cause a flare up, then that's pretty good, and I've had mostly all of those, like, pretty much good days for a couple years now, I guess.
That's good.
Yeah, it's even my doctors have been like, "You've been fairly lucky with all this," and they were kinda worried early on that it could have gone the other way.
Mhm.
Um, I'm glad that I've been pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. What triggers setbacks the most?
The cold, like, things getting dropped on my foot or me bumping into things, being sick. I've noticed that my immune system isn't as strong as it used to be, so if I, like, fly anywhere, going there, I'm okay, but flying back, I'm usually getting something. Don't know why, don't know how, I'm getting something. I remember flying home from Tennessee one time, I got pneumonia. I had it for a couple weeks, and I was like, "I would have been fine before this, but now I'm usually getting sick." So, it may not be something with my foot, but it's definitely something contribute to it, and then I get tired more, like, I get home from work and I'm just like, I'm just drained. But then again, I do work with 1 and 2-year-olds, so that can be a tribute to it,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it's just a lot more that I feel like any other 30-year-old would be like, "I can go out now," and I'm like, "No, I'd rather be home."
That's yeah. 1 and 2-year-olds, yeah, a lot of
And then having 8 of them,
yeah, that's, it's challenging, I must say. I've got a
yes.
4-year-old and she's a handful in of herself. 8 younger than that, I'm I don't think I can handle that. So how do you, manage the limits without feeling defeated?
I think knowing my limits really helps. When I finally told my boss, like, "Hey, this is what I have, this is the limits, um, I may be tired, but I won't let it use me. I won't let it be the thing that will just be the thing that will, like, kinda make me weak, I guess." That helps that I know my limits. I won't make an excuse that, "Oh, I'm not feeling great." It is what it is, and having that 10-year experience definitely has helped because if it was, like, only 5 years, I'd be like, "I'm still learning." And I even though it has been 10 years, I'm still learning, but having some of that has definitely helped along the way.
Good. You know, I know you mentioned the conversation you had with your mom about the wanting to spread awareness. Is that kinda where your blog came from, or did that come from somewhere else?
That I think it was just more so when I was diagnosed that day is when I started it, and it was more because I didn't wanna have to keep putting something on Facebook, like different news articles, different this or that for my family to see. I wanted there to be like a one-page source or one source that they can go to, um, for them to kind of experience what I'm dealing with. And so that day I created a blog. Never had a blog before, never done it. So I was learning how to set everything up and it was kind of my outlet of not having to deal with this diagnosis. And it really helped because I was focusing on something else, even though it was CRPS related. I just felt like it wasn't about me per se. It was more sharing my journey, sharing my experience, even though it was day one. Uh, I was not just dwelling on it. I was just trying to, sh- I don't know, explain to my family, hey, this is what I have, and I want to share my voice. I want to tell you guys, hey, this is how you can help. Um, and it has helped. Didn't think it would go like worldwide or affect other people, and I'm glad it does. And that does help. It was just mainly to like show my family, like, hey, here's what I have, and I'm glad that it's reached other people.
That's good. When you talk about, it reaching people, what kind of messages do you get from, people?
I've gotten messages from, say, like, teenagers, like, their parents would message me being like, "My daughter or my son has it. What has been your coping mechanism, or what has been, like, your" I don't wanna say cure, but what has helped you to I think one was, like, an 80-year-old woman who has been struggling with it, but hasn't been diagnosed and was finally diagnosed. And she's like, "I've been reading your blog, and this is everything that I needed." So, just having it there, like, I may not update it, like, constantly, but just having it there for someone to find is very useful, um, and helpful because it it means that someone is reading it and it's helping them. That was kind of my goal, was for it to help, and if it's reached one person, and that's all I cared about, and I'm glad it's reached more. So I'll respond every once in a while, um, to, like, the younger group and some of the older ones that are just, like, now being diagnosed, being like, "Here's how it's helped me. Physical therapy has helped me." And those are, like, the ones that are very desperate that need some support. So I'm just glad it's reached people that need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I told myself when I started all this that if I could have, help one person step back from the ledge, then, I
Mhm.
did my job. Those messages that you get from people, the words of encouragement and the thanks and everything else, they're truly rewarding in and of itself. It kind of makes you feel good.
It does,
Really,
yeah.
it does. What do you want newly diagnosed patients to hear from you first?
What was the question?
What do you
What
want
was the
newly
question?
diagnosed patient Yes, what do you want
That everything will be okay, that, yeah, it will be hard. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, it's gonna be hard. It will hurt, it's gonna hurt, you're gonna have some restrictions, you're gonna have a new life, new normal, I would say, but if you have that support, that's what's key. Having support, finding a group. Like, yeah, there's a ton of groups on Facebook or wherever, but finding that group that you can connect with really helps. But I feel like having group support, the right doctor is what makes it all. That helps. That's what makes it work.
what do people often overlook about their experiences?
I feel like they don't see the struggle that they go through. I feel like they don't have the support. Some caregivers may have, like, a spouse or someone significant to them, but if you're a single parent, you have yourself, and that's how my mom was. She was a single parent. My dad's out of state, her sisters are out of state, so it was just her, and so it's a lot of work, and just trying to have support is what I feel like is key to a good caregiver or just a caregiver. I don't know, just having support.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's definitely something that's overlooked is they don't get the attention or the respect or, you know, kinda the sympathy that they deserve also for what they've had to endure, My wife had, started having to do more at home and working more and doing all of that to help take care of things around the house that I was now unable to do,
Exactly.
for the longest time, and, I do feel that that gets overlooked so much that it's almost not fair for them to a sense that, yeah, you may be the one that's going through all of this, but at the same time, they're still having to endure and go through, some stuff on their own too that they're just being overlooked for.
Yeah, it's like they may feel like we're taking them for granted, but we're not. And then once we get better, we're like, we're getting better, but we still need them. And then for my mom, it was she was still working. She had to take some time off, and I felt guilty because I should be able to take care of myself, but I couldn't. And when your child hurts or is in pain, you know that you wanna take care of them. And then same thing with a child, it's when your parents are in pain, you wanna take care of them, but when you're hurt or injured or something, you can't, you physically
Yeah.
can't, so it was hard.
Yeah,
She
you
feels
almost feel
like
like a burden.
she felt like she lost, like, 10 years. Like, she's aged 10 years because of this, and it was a constant driving me to physical therapy, driving me to doctor's appointments, this and that, and she was by herself. It was just a lot, and I definitely have gratitude for her, so,
That's good. And
yeah.
it's difficult on you at the same time because I know for me, you kinda feel like you're a burden
Yes.
and everything else, and that, you get those thoughts and those feelings that I'm a burden and everything else when, they don't really feel the same way, because there's that love and that, like for your mom, you're her child, she's gonna do everything that she can to make sure that you're taken care of and everything else, always gonna put you first, and so you may feel like the burden, but at the same time, that's just a mom doing what
Yeah, I
mothers
always
do.
say that she understands this without having it because she's seen what I've gone through. She's even though she hasn't felt it, she has that parental feeling of, "I understand my child. I know what they're going through." And so I always say she knows this diagnosis without having it because she's been there from day 1.
So what do you think needs to change in the medical world for CRPS patients to have a fighting chance?
For doctors to stop saying it's in your head. Yeah, for them to actually like, they do lessons on this, on CRPS. I have a legacy of medical personnel in my family. I'll get messages being like, "Oh, we're on CRPS right now." But they need to actually, like, have patients or consult with patients that have it, um, do more training on it and not just say, "We can't find anything, and it's in your head," and this and that, and just believe that patient. Like, yeah, some may actually not be true, but for the most part, if someone is saying this is what they're feeling, that it's like all the signs and they've gone years with that feeling, with the burning, with the pain, with just that extreme pain, they're probably telling you something that this is actually what they have. So don't just say it's in your head that you need to see a psychologist or whatever and believe believe that person.
Yeah, I agree with that. You hear it so many times. Maybe it's in your head or something along those lines. I do think your mindset and everything has to be in the right place to be able to cope with all of that. But the symptoms are there, the pain is there, and you've got to start looking at that and accepting that as doctors and providers and doing your homework and actual research. There's just too many
Oh, yeah.
doctors that don't understand or even know about CRPS. And I think, to a sense, that's kind of where we come in to start spreading the awareness and the severity of it and everything else to, maybe start getting more education out there for the providers so that, we can be taken care of a little bit better. And, maybe they'll come up with some better treatments and everything else that actually work and do what we all hope and, get rid of this demon that we're blessed with right now.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like they should have someone with CRPS, consult or help with research if they wanna find a cure. They should have someone in that medical aspect because if you are just saying it's in your head or if there's not a lot of studies behind it, then it's gonna take years for a cure to come or not at all because they're just gonna say it's in your head, and then you can have those couple doctors that are like, "Oh, we know what this is," and then you're gonna have all those other doctors being like, "We don't believe you."
Yeah. Yeah. I think insurance and the medical field altogether kinda need to you
Yeah.
start communicating and doing a better job too to make it where it's a lot more reasonable and available for people to get a lot of those treatments that they're unable to get because they're not covered by insurance. And, most CRPS, you know, individuals are struggling financially and unable to work and do all of that, so they can't really afford these treatments that everybody's saying work because, well, insurance isn't gonna pick them up or they're not
Yes.
FDA approved or anything along those lines, and I think that some kinda needs to come into play too, not just the doctors, but
It
the
needs to be a
FDA
whole
and
group thing.
yeah. It's like you've got some treatments that, people talk about all the time over in Italy. Italy
Yes,
is really advanced when it comes to CRPS, and they've got treatments over there that the US won't bring over here. They don't want to FDA
exactly.
approve them and they don't want to do all of that. And then we don't have the money to travel over there to get these treatments because, it's 20, $30,000 out of pocket between travel and lodging and treatments and everything else. And like I said, most CRPS warriors are sitting there on disability and everything else, barely making it month to month. So
Exactly.
something needs to change in that area too, I feel.
Yes.
So what are you grateful for right now?
I'm grateful that I don't know, have a mother that allows me to be under her roof, even though I am 33, almost 34, because I was not able to work for some amount of years because of this. And because of that, I didn't have the finance to be on my own. And I'm still I'm just now almost 3 years into my job, and I couldn't be able to afford a place of my own. And that is a hardship for me right now because I'm 33 and I should be living on my own, but it's that aspect of I went through a lot in 10 years
Absolutely.
and that I shouldn't be hard on myself for that. And then I'm also grateful that I am still here, that my CRPS has I don't wanna say is in remission because I don't think there really is a thing. It's it's calmed down, I guess, and that I'm able to enjoy life and get to move around, get to drive, get to work, get to just live life, enjoy friends, family, not have to worry about money,
Mhm.
insurance, just be able to be here. So I'm just grateful for everything, even if it's this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you've overcome quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's challenging. You've lost a lot. You've lost a big part of yourself, and
Mhm.
you've had to relearn and readapt and regrow as a person. And it takes time. Nothing anymore happens overnight. So yeah, that is definitely something to be kind of grateful for. That you have that outlet and that avenue so that you can start to rebuild and regrow and just start moving forward and living your life day
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I'm able to share my story with you or through the blog, just so that people know they're not alone, that we're all here for them, and that it's a struggle. It's an everyday struggle, but we're all gonna get through it if we all stick together. So
So what gives you hope moving forward?
that there one day will possibly be a cure. Um, that I don't know that life just keeps going. That That we're all just in this together, that there's no cruelty with people who have this because we're all been cruel by this. Just living life, I guess. Yeah.
I understand that. So if you could talk to the version of yourself from January 2015, what would you tell her?
That you got through it, that you're now working. It's been 10 years and everything has calmed down. You're living life, you have great friends, you have good family. Yeah, there's issues with some people, but you're here. It didn't defeat you. You're in a good place.
What advice would you give to people that are early in their diagnosis or have even been diagnosed and living with this for a while? What advice or, would you give them to get through all of this?
You're just starting, um, a new normal if you're just diagnosed and you're early on, but if you've lived with it, you kinda know what you're going through. Yeah, you now have a name, but you you already gone through it. You already know the battle that is ahead. You just have a name attached to it, so you just keep doing what you've been doing. But now that you have an answer, you know how to fight for yourself, and hopefully you've been fighting for yourself or have people around you fighting with you. And those who are just diagnosed and are new, it's gonna be hard. Have a great support system, have great doctors, um, and know that we're here for you. It's definitely cruel to have, but it makes you fight. It makes you motivated, drives you to fight more. It just makes you realize what you have more than you did before.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell anybody listening about this or those that may not understand what people with CRPS are going through, or even those that with CRPS or invisible illness or anything else that, you know, are going through it, but listening. Was there anything else that you would like to share with them or
The more that we're here for you, that you're not alone. We're we know what you're going through. We've been there, still there. It's gonna be hard, but just reach out to us. We'll be there. It's it's not fun to have, but it's you'll realize that there may be some purpose, even though you think, "Why did I get this?" But just realize that we're just there. We're there for you. Yeah.
you're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. We're one
Find your
big
support,
community.
find your friends.
If they're not willing to support you or, endure this kinda to a sense with you, then, maybe they weren't the person that you thought they were to
Yeah.
begin with. Find that group, even if it's a small group that,
Yeah,
are constantly there for you, there to have your back and love you for who you are, I think is what everyone needs right now.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for trusting me with your story and for being willing to say out loud what so many people are living in silence. CRPS doesn't just attack the body, it reshapes identity, relationships, faith, and the way you move through the world. And you didn't pretend it was pretty, you told the truth. If you're listening to this and living with chronic pain, especially CRPS, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not weak, you're not dramatic, you're not imagining it. What you're carrying is heavy, and the fact that you're still here says more about your strength than most people will ever understand. Margaret is proof of that. Even when the life you plan disappears, purpose can still show up in its place. Not loud, not easy, but real. This episode hit home for you. Share it with someone who needs to hear they're not alone. Awareness matters, early diagnosis matters, and stories like Margaret's matter. Until next time, keep showing up the best way you can. Even that counts.